Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving right into one of the most emotionally gripping stories you'll find in the biblical text of Mark chapter 5. We're talking about two seemingly impossible miracles that actually collided on the exact same day. You've got this highly public, high-stakes crisis smashing right into a private, hidden struggle. It is literally a masterclass in how faith works, and I am so pumped to unpack it with you today.
So what exactly happens when a very important father's desperate plea is suddenly interrupted by an outcast's secret faith? That's the question we're looking at. It's this incredibly suspenseful collision of two totally different worlds. On one side, you have this massive public urgency with a literal ticking clock, and on the other, quiet, desperate, hidden hope. Let's set the stage and see how this whole thing unfolds.
Okay, imagine the scene with me for a second. Jesus is walking down this incredibly chaotic, completely packed street. You have to remember, back then, there were no crowd control barricades or concepts of personal space. People are just pressing in from all sides. Someone healing, someone answers, others just want to catch a glimpse of a miracle. It's just pure, overwhelming chaos.
Right in the middle of all this, the crowd parts for a very important guy. His name is Jairus, and he's a highly respected synagogue leader. But right now, his wealth, his status, his public standing, none of that matters at all. He runs up, falls completely at Jesus' feet, and makes this absolutely heartbreaking public plea. "Please come to my house. My daughter is dying." He's just a terrified dad begging for his little girl's life. And Jesus, looking at him with such profound compassion, immediately agrees to go. The mission is set.
Now, look at the brilliant contrast between our two main figures here. On the one hand, we've got Jairus, right? A prominent, wealthy leader making this bold, loud public request for his daughter. But on the flip side, hiding in that exact same crowd, is an unnamed woman. She's a total outcast, taking completely hidden action, advocating solely for herself. It is night and day in terms of social status, yet both of them are driven to Jesus by undeniable desperation.
I mean, really think about the unimaginable suffering this woman went through. 12 long years. For the first few years, she spent literally all her money on doctors, and instead of getting better, she went completely bankrupt, something ancient medicine definitely caused, and honestly, a reality that's still pretty relatable today. So by year 12, she's physically drained, financially ruined, and totally isolated because her condition made people avoid her. She is utterly lonely, utterly hopeless. That is, until she hears about Jesus. She had heard the crazy stories, the blind seeing, the lame walking, demons fleeing at his command, and deep down, amidst a literal decade of rejection, a spark of faith ignited. She thought to herself, if I can only touch his clothes, I will be healed. That one single, incredibly powerful thought drove her to slowly, painfully push her way through that massive bumping crowd. She didn't want a conversation, she just needed to get close. Finally, she gets to him. With trembling hands, she stretches out and just barely touches the edge of his cloak. It's this incredibly tense, entirely hidden action, right in the middle of a swirling mob. But immediately, something happens. The pain just vanishes. Strength comes flooding back into her body. She knew in that exact split second that 12 years of pure agony were completely gone.
But here's the thing. The story doesn't end with a secret healing. At that exact same moment, Jesus stops. He completely halts this urgent, rushing procession heading to save Jairus' dying daughter. He turns around to this massive crowd and asks this almost jarring question. Who touched me? Just imagine the tension dropping right there. This life-or-death rescue mission is abruptly paused for this one specific question.
The disciples are, understandably, absolutely baffled. Peter points out the painfully obvious, saying, "Master, the whole crowd is touching you." I mean, from their perspective, hundreds of people are physically pressing in. To ask who touched him in the middle of a literal mob seemed ridiculous. Everyone was bumping into him.
But Jesus makes a really crucial distinction here. He replies, "Someone touched me with faith. Power has gone out from me." This is a huge moment in our explainer today. Jesus is pointing out the massive difference between the accidental, chaotic bumping of a crowd and a deliberate, intentional touch driven by pure faith. Dozens of people bumped into him, sure, but only one person truly touched him with purpose. At this point, the woman realizes she can't hide anymore. Fearfully, she steps forward, and the entire chaotic crowd just falls dead silent.
Terrified of what might happen, she falls before Jesus, lays everything bare, and tells him the absolute truth. She tells him about her 12 years of suffering, her desperate secret act, and how she was instantly healed the very second she touched his cloak.
And you know what? Jesus doesn't scold her for interrupting his journey at all. Instead, he smiles gently and says, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace." This is massive. Because of her condition, society considered her ceremonially unclean. For over a decade, people wouldn't even look at her, much less touch her. But by calling her daughter, Jesus restores not just her physical health, but her social identity, her dignity. Honestly, those words probably healed her heart even more than the physical healing itself.
But wait, remember Jairus? While Jesus is speaking these beautiful words of restoration to the woman, the ticking clock runs out. Sorrowful messengers arrive from Jairus' house with literally the worst news any parent could ever hear. Your daughter is dead. Do not trouble the teacher anymore. In an instant, Jairus' heart must have just plummeted into absolute grief. His big public pleas seemed to have failed. They were just too late.
Yet Jesus refuses to let despair take root. He immediately turns to this grieving father with this incredible, quiet assurance. Do not be afraid, only believe and she will be healed. This right here brilliantly connects our two narratives. Jesus is basically asking Jairus to mirror the exact same impossible belief that the bleeding woman just demonstrated. He's saying, look, you just saw what her faith did. Now you have to hold on to yours, even staring death in the face.
So they finally get to Jairus' house, and the place is just heavy with mourning. People are wailing, mourners are everywhere because the little girl has passed away. But when Jesus steps right into the middle of this chaotic grief and says, "Do not weep, she is not dead but sleeping," the crowd's tears instantly turn to mocking laughter. They cynically laughed at him because, well, they knew for a fact she was dead. But Jesus, he just ignores the skeptics and pushes right past the doubt. He takes only the girl's parents and a few of his disciples into the room where she's laying. It's this incredibly quiet, intimate moment. He gently takes her hand and speaks directly to her, saying, "Little girl, arise." And immediately, life returns to her body. Her eyes open, she sits up, and she literally begins to walk around the room, as her parents are just weeping with shocked joy. Jesus brings this mind-blowing miracle right back down to earth with a brilliantly practical command. He tells him to give her something to eat. Which makes sense, right? After coming back to life, she was probably starving. Two absolutely impossible miracles happened on that single day, permanently intertwined together in Mark chapter 5. A marginalized woman who suffered for 12 long years received complete healing through her persistent faith. And a little girl who had tragically died was brought back to life by the undeniable power of Jesus.
When you pull back and synthesize these connected events, a few core truths really jump out. First, it shows us that no situation is too hard for Jesus, whether we're talking about a chronic 12-year illness or death itself. Second, faith brings healing to the sick. Third, faith gives profound peace to the terrified, just like Jesus commanded Jairus. And finally, faith completely restores the hopeless, transforming a rejected outcast back into a beloved, restored daughter. We've seen today how both a powerful, respected leader and an unnamed, destitute outcast had to push past immense fear and obstacles. So I want to leave you with this thought. When you are facing your own impossible situation, will you have the courage to reach out in faith? Whether you feel like you're standing right at the front of the crowd or hiding way out in the margins, the simple power of reaching out can change absolutely everything. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep seeking out those incredible layers of understanding.